You're starting a fucking multinational company, and we're getting drunk in Joel's front room.
No, dude.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Table in Latin, hosted by myself, Ben Clark, and
Joel Michalak.
on this episode, we have our good friend Tyler Sickels, who's doing a lot of really cool, innovative work in greenhouse technologies, helping plants grow faster for farmers. He's our first remote guest, so Joel did a really good job with the editing. I think it turned out pretty good. Moving forward for getting future guests, Joel has some stuff to say about who we'd like and how you could contact us for that.
The ball of talking.
The ball of talking.
The guests that we've had so far are both work in startups and business, but that's not the only thing you can do with your intelligence. We would like to have more guests that work in the arts and humanities, or if you're doing anything interesting that's benefiting the world, we're interested in talking to you. If you're in Mensa or a former member of Mensa,
They should join again.
they should join.
You should join again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're assholes.
No, be a current member.
$79.
$79. Just flex on them. $79. That's it.
Yeah. So if you are fit that criteria, or you think you fit that criteria, please contact us at tableinlatin@gmail.com. And it doesn't really matter where in the world you are. We can figure out a remote way to do an interview.
Yeah.
Even if it's slightly lower quality than this microphone I have in my studio.
Yeah. We'll figure it out. We'll make it work. Contact us. Let us know so we can get you on the show. And with that, enjoy the episode. Okay, so welcome everybody to episode 2 of Table in Latin, the super unofficial, not official at all, please don't sue us, Mensa podcast. Today we have Tyler Sickels with us. Tyler is the CEO and founder of Sol Gro. He has a background in entrepreneurship from the University of Texas, where he's also studied philosophy. And of course, he is a member of American Mensa, where he serves as the LocSec, aka Overmind leader of his local group in Texas. Welcome, Tyler.
Thank you for having me, guys.
You were on my list of people to contact to do this when we first came up with the idea of this podcast. Ever since I knew about what you were doing with Sol Gro and thought it was like a really cool idea. And I do wanted to say before we get started, congratulations on the Wells Fargo grant.
Thank you very much. Yeah, dude, we're really excited about that. Yeah, it was definitely a shock for us to be able to get that notification about a month ago that we made it all the way through. And we're on one of 5 companies out of a couple hundred that applied for the program.
What is the program?
So it's put on by Wells Fargo, and in conjunction with InRail and the Danforth Plant Science Center. It was originally started 5 years ago, or 5 cohorts ago, to help Wells Fargo. They're trying to do a big PR push to better their image and also help innovative technologies. So it started off with them wanting to get technologies to market faster that usually have like a really long life expectancy. So hard science, material-based companies. So if you have a new type of brick, it's really hard for you to sell that to a hotel that use your new type of brick. You've got to do a lot of testing. So they're parlaying that same sales cycle over to agriculture. So this is the first cohort they're doing. We're the first companies that are getting the money. And what the money's used for, it's at the Danforth Plant Science Center. It's the top plant research center in the world. And we get $250,000 to do research there and have them validate our technology. So once we come out with a white paper and some research from the Danforth Center, then it's pretty much game over when it comes to tech validation. We don't have to go to little mom and pop shops anymore and give out sample material for them to test. This is like the final say when it comes to whether our technology says what we say it does.
That's so freaking cool, man. So can you Can you explain? I mean, I have a pretty general idea of what Sol Gro does because you've explained it to me before, and I follow you on Facebook. But can you explain to people here what is Sol Gro? What does it do? What does it help farmers do?
Yeah, so the simplest version is that plants only use red and blue light to photosynthesize. So you've got the rest of the color spectrum and all that energy coming from the sun in between that red and that blue spectrum that is unused energy. So what we're able to do is embed nanoparticles, so nanophosphors. They're tiny, anywhere from 5 to 50 nanometers in size, so 1/100th the size of a human hair. You get these particles, and we're able to, through our technology, embed them into plastic sheeting and cover greenhouses with them. So the sun hits our plastic, our material, it goes through our particles, and then it shifts. So we can take UV, for example, and turn that into red and blue light. And then we can take green light and that green, yellow, orange band and turn that into red. So by getting more red and blue light hitting the crop surface, then it's giving them more food so they can grow quicker. So it really speeds up the harvest time, the overall yield factor of crops. So we can push plants to bloom faster, we can push them to fruit faster, and then once they do start fruiting, they'll fruit more. So you'll get a higher yield off of the greenhouse than you would normally. It's like it's another form of fertilizer that hasn't been utilized before.
What's the percentage amount that the grow rate increases?
We've seen in Oregon, we did a test with cannabis, and we saw that there was a decreased harvest time by about 20%. So it was a 60-day plant that they were harvesting, and they were able to harvest that in 45 days. So it's pretty significant. So if you have 360 plus days of sunlight in Colorado or Southern California, you can potentially get a full new plant cycle. So in the cannabis industry, that's massive dollars. And for traditional horticulture, that's still big money.
That is so cool. Yeah, you're like reinventing farming for these people. When how did Sol Gro get started? How did you hone in on this business idea? Like, when did you come up with it?
So it was kind of, I fell into it.
Yeah.
I was working with my father. He's got a couple startups in oil and gas, completely non-related. Simple. I mean, but the good Mensa version though is that went to school freshman, sophomore year, dropped out, helped my dad with his two companies. Back when oil crashed in 2015, I made some friends with the startup community in Fort Worth, and a couple of them were professors and entrepreneurship professors at that. And I was working on some apps, and they eventually convinced me, like, hey, Tyler, you need to go back and finish school, because I had basically a 4-year break. And they were yelling at me to finish, get my degree, which I'm one class from completing, and it's been that way for 2 years now. So they're still not super happy at me. But I went back to school. I still couldn't stop the startup itch. So I did another project. I went to Korea and competed for it's called the K Startup Grand Challenge. There were some people in the back end in California, like Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley has a side tangent, but Silicon Valley has a bad issue of people going out there and having a PO box and then coming to other states and saying that, oh, hey, we live in Silicon Valley, we know a lot more than you do because we're out here. So there was a group that got tied in with the university and brought me onto that team out in Korea. It turns out they were full of shit. So I left, came back, told the university what was going on, and then a couple months later, they had this technology pop up. So this was in 2016, late 2016, early 2017. So then I started working with a professor, did a bunch of research to see if it was really a valid technology, did a bunch of research on the commercialization potential of it. Like, okay, this is a cool thing that's in the lab, but can you actually scale this manufacturing? So I spent a good year and a half trying to figure out, like, is this viable or not? And then started the company in March of 17. So we've been operating for two years now. Yeah.
And the way it works, at least from what I've seen from the pictures, is it like it's like a sheet that goes over their greenhouse, right? And then that's what converts the light.
Yes, it's like the exact same thing you'd see in a normal greenhouse. It's nothing different. We embed our particles directly into that whatever that substrate is. So right now we've got a product that's like soft polyethylene. It's like a garbage bag material that you'd see on a normal hoop house or somebody growing strawberries. So it's embedded in that, and then we're working on some other products that are like embedded into glass or other hard shell substrates. So hard buildings that would last a lot longer than the soft plastic.
Yeah, so it's like the building itself would be constructed with this material in mind.
Exactly. So it's super simple for the customer to understand it because they're not changing anything. Their building's going to look the identical. It's just going to have this extra properties attached to it.
Yeah, it's going to be the exact same building except 25 to 30% better in every way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Did you so for the marijuana growers and farmers, like is that would you say like that's like your biggest target market with Sol Gro?
Yeah, it's our biggest initial target market. And the reasoning behind that is because it's a booming industry and we feel that I can make the cannabis growers a lot more money a lot quicker. And so it's easy for us to kind of build our business based on those guys. But our end goal is traditional horticulture. I mean, we feel like we can have a big impact on food production, but it's just a lot longer sales cycle. So I can't go into Driscoll's and just give them material and say, hey, you guys should replace everything. It's a lot longer. They've got to do multiple grows over multiple years. They've got to make sure that, yeah, we're growing strawberries twice as fast, but they're also making people glow green, right? There's a lot of stuff that goes into food production that we can't shortcut. Which is why that grant that we got is going to be so huge, because we let the experts that those huge companies look at validate it for us without us just kind of saying, hey, we're a startup, buy our shit.
Well, that's the cool thing about it that I like is that it's like you're getting like GMO results, but really all you're doing is just increasing sunlight, which is causing the plant to grow more naturally. So you can almost like appease like both sides of that debate. It's like it's going to grow faster, you're going to get more food, and then at the same time, all we're doing is allowing the plant to absorb more light. We're not changing it at all.
Yeah, exactly. That's why people are really liking it and it's resonating, and why I think we were selected by Wells Fargo, and why I picked the company to kind of start anyway. It's really straightforward. It either works or it doesn't, and you can put a plant under our material, and within 3 weeks, if there's a difference. So it's not like we're, like Theracan, or not Theracan, but who is the lady who was trying to be Steve Jobs? Elizabeth Holmes.
What did she do? Who was she conning? What was her deal?
So it was the biggest startup in Silicon Valley. Like, I think it raised the most money. But what it was, they were supposed to do all these tests with just a drop of blood, like, a Theranos. That's what it's called, Theranos. They were supposed to just take a drop of blood, and they could tell you basically like 60 different tests. So, are you, I don't know, do you have cancer? What's your T levels? There's just a bunch of things that they said they were doing, and it turned out that the technology was just impossible. Like, it wouldn't work.
Yeah, this is like complete bullshit.
Yeah, but they raised like a couple $1 billion.
Oh
like,
my
it was,
God.
Yeah. And so, yeah, it was pretty nuts.
Well, that's fun. That's good to know. It's good to know that we can still raise a couple $1 billion on vaporware. That's good. I like it.
Yeah.
So, what has been the most, for lack of a better word, like rewarding experience you've had with Sol Gro in these past like 2 years? Is there like, have you like changed someone's life or something like that when you show them this product and you like see their eyes light up with like the potential it has? Like, what has been the best experience you've had with really entrepreneurship and Sol Gro?
It's a good question, because usually I got a bunch of buddies who are all startups, and we just kind of complain about all the bad stuff going on. So thinking about the good thing, I'd say with the grower we had up in Oregon, I mean, that guy was really excited, and I just talked to him earlier today about the potential that we have for impacting his his life. But the biggest deal, I guess, that I like is taking something, kind of commercializing it from a university that may or may not have seen the light of day, working with a really cool professor, and then hiring people, like building my team out and knowing that where the company is able to support those people. It's probably the coolest thing.
No, that's cool. Yeah, it says you took the idea that, you know, could have just been left somewhere to die and like actually made it a real thing. That's super admirable. What would be the next steps for Sol Gro, the company, you moving forward?
Our next steps are mainly just getting everything, like I said, getting tested, get everything validated, and then from there we'll build out our marketing and our sales strategy with all that information and data, and just keep rolling from there. I mean, we weren't expecting to get this. Like, we weren't having our business necessarily buying on this to have us take off one way or the other. It's just like a nice thing to have. And it's going to end up have a huge impact. But having the information just makes it to where we can go to customers a lot more confidently and a lot quicker. It's a generic business answer, but kind of, the goal is just make sales, right? So you got to have a product that people want, that you can show value to what they're producing, and from there you should be good to go, barring any fuck ups.
Is there any sort of competition for Sol Gro? Like, is there anything even like that on the market at all?
Yeah, we had our first competitor pop up in November, and they're very similar to what we're doing. They've got different material, different light output for what they're doing. It seemed like a lot of their copy they got from us from a couple press releases, but I mean, it just happens. So we're still confident that one, we've got a better product, and then two, we started this like as an ag specific company to help people, and I think they're at a lot higher price point than what we're at.
So you think they just straight up copied your design and were like, no, we'll sell this too?
I don't know how long they're working on it. Yeah, I don't know how long they're working on it, but their name's very similar to ours. Their copy, when you look at some of their press releases, and then you look at like the copy on their website versus what was on our old website, some of the press release, the stuff that they've done, it's just the verbiage is extremely similar, and not just verbiage in like, oh, this is light converting greenhouse material. It's like there was a pitch where they said, oh, this is an aspect of greenhouses that have never been tried before, like stuff like that. That's like, no, man, I said that before. Like, you can't. Like, I don't mind if you have a competing product, but don't fucking straight copy it from a presentation I did 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's kind of, well, I mean, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, and suing them is probably the sincerest form of fucking them. So,
Yeah.
What's the patent situation on the technology?
The patents are based around our material, how we emit the amount of light that we're doing. But that's not to say that somebody couldn't figure out another way to do it, as with anything, right? And so it kind of protects making sure that we have our material product. Like, the whole thing with patents is, unless you've got enough money to defend them, or to like prosecute them, it's not super useful, right? Because you're going to spend $500,000 or more fighting a legal battle based off of somebody with patent infringement, and then you've got to show damages. So let's say you just straight copy somebody, but you're not actually being damaged, like they're not selling any product, or they're selling a little bit. Like, what are you going to get? You're not going to get shit, right? So you've got to, the best thing for you to happen, for something to happen when you have copyright infringement or patent infringement, is you sit back, you let them make a shit ton of money, and then you sue them. Like, so if it's two startups that are competing like head to head, and one may or may not have an issue with the other one's patents, like, there's really no benefit to suing them, because you can't make any money off of it. Maybe you can shut them down, but at that point they're kind of helping you make the market as well, if that makes sense.
Well, that does make a lot of sense, actually. But yeah, that's a very interesting perspective coming from the inside the industry like that, because that's something I never would have thought of. It's like, oh yeah, they'll just copy your stuff, but if they don't make any money off of it, but then what do you do? What are you going to sue somebody who doesn't make any money? Okay, great.
Yeah, so you're gonna spend a couple $100,000 to get what? Like, what are you getting out of it?
Yeah.
So
To get them to maybe pay your legal fees, it's like what a giant waste of time that is.
yeah, and there's patent trolls, right, that do that all the time, but they're firms that are specifically they have in-house counsel that are specifically designed to do that. It's not like a small company trying to sue another company over patents.
It's a company designed to sue other companies suing other companies.
And that's just from my experience.
Love it.
I could be off. Yeah.
I love it. It's so great. What a system we live in.
But they're needed. So I mean, like they do really help out a lot. So it's one of those deals that kind of everybody's got their own opinions.
Yeah. Okay, Joel, do you have any other questions about Sol Gro before we move on to my general questions about other things at Mensa?
Yeah, I'm curious about your background with your father being invested in oil. Was there anything about growing up in that family that made you want to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I would say that's probably the main reason. Because my dad's a brilliant guy. He's like a garage inventor, right? Doesn't have a degree. Never went to school or college anyway. I mean, barely graduated high school, but he's got quite a few patents, and he's able to just tinker and make stuff. So I'd grow up and see the stuff that he was making and try to figure out, oh, hey, that's really cool. Can we do this to make a business out of it? Or maybe you should talk to this customer or this customer. You could, that type of thing. Especially in high school, I think I started getting interested in it. And then once I left freshman or sophomore year of college up in Sherman, going and working for him again, I just kind of fell pretty easily into that operations niche. Like, okay, we know we got to have a payroll system, we've got to have an inventory system, just all these operational deals, and then sales. Whenever we had a big contract and we lost it, like I was the one who just hit yellow pages back in the day on, hey, this is the customer type we have, and just started cold calling people. So to have that experience was very critical in how he handled investors and what to do and what not to do. It was very critical in the success or staying afloat, I guess what I'd say, with what we're doing now. And the other big thing that they did was like they were very supportive. So they never told me, hey, you need to go work for Fortune 500 company or you need to go do this. They if I had a crazy idea, they're like, all right, yeah, go figure it out. So that was a pretty good thing.
So did they help you financially at all with the initial investment?
No, not with the initial investment. With the initial license. So I was able to get some help on that, but and then whenever I just kind of strapped for cash or whatever for payroll or something, they helped me out, but it wasn't a significant investment. I did get my very first investor was from a gentleman who previously did invest in one of my dad's companies, and I've known him for a long time, and so when I started my own thing, he was the first one to sign up and give me money.
What are the skills that you learned through working with your father's company that you wouldn't necessarily learn in business school, or is there any difference?
Yeah, there's a lot.
There would be a lot
on business school. So business school, from what I've seen, or at least the traditional business programs, not necessarily some of the entrepreneurship programs at the better schools that I've been around, that I've done talks at. The traditional business school is mainly teaching you how to operate within an existing business. So it's, hey, we need X cog to fit in here, and you're going to do, these things. When you're running a business by yourself, it's a lot different because you've got to wear a lot of hats and you've got to make sure you put the kind of right people around you. I would say, yeah, it's a lot of hands-on experience that you definitely don't get. It'd be the equivalent of like, okay, so mechanical. I've got a guy who's a mechanical engineer for me, a master's. He's got a master's in mechanical engineering. He got his master's without, I don't think only without any actual lab time, right? Like, so actually working on a physical thing, right? So he parlay that to business school.
So wouldn't that make
Like,
him a theoretical engineer?
Yeah.
Oh!
It's the same shit though. It's the same concept, right? People get masters, people get MBAs without like just theoretical paperwork, and they've never actually done anything. And so it's kind of, it's definitely different. And there's skills that, I mean, I have an MBA working for me now that he has skills I definitely don't have, and I don't have the capacity to do either, just based off my personality and off my skill type. Like I physically can't do what he can do.
How many people do you have working for you in your company right now?
I have 5 right now, so 5 including myself. So we're still really small. I mean, we just started, being able to pay ourselves. So it's kind of one of those deals you bootstrap for as long as you can. You go scoot by with as little money as you can until you get to the point to where you've got a good value on your company, and then people are willing to invest, hundreds of thousands of dollars to get you to the next level. There's 5 of us. We've got two master's mechanical engineer, so Malhar. We've got a professional engineer who's got about 20 years worth of field experience, 2 doctorates in physics and chemistry, and then myself, who's the dumbass without a degree.
I love it.
You're talking to 2 dumbasses without degrees.
No degrees.
I have an associate's in film, but it might as well just not have a degree.
I don't even know how I graduated high school. I skipped the whole year playing Quake.
I think having a film degree makes me dumber than not having a degree because I spent money on it.
You spent money on a film degree. Oof.
But then we can do video podcasts, so pays for itself.
Done.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah. You're starting a fucking multinational company, and we're getting drunk in Joel's front room.
No, dude. So I went and did a talk at this school. It was like 2 weeks ago. There's a bunch of freshmen. No, they weren't freshmen. They're like juniors or something. Juniors and seniors at TCU, which is a Christian private school in Fort Worth. So it's a good school. And so one of the professors had me come and talk, and one of the girls in the class, like towards the end, she's like, "So I hate to play devil's advocate, but like, why are you here?" And I was like, "Oh, because you don't have a degree, and like you're like hiring people and stuff. I like why are you why?" And I was like, "You know what? That's a good question. I like, why the fuck am I here?" It's basically she's asking like, why should she listen to me over anybody else? I'm like, you probably shouldn't, I guess. Like,
I guess I'm probably an outlier.
I mean, not even that. I was like, now I'm just questioning my whole questioning everything. Like, fuck, maybe I should just quit now.
You're just like, oh, you know what? You're right. Take off your lapel mic, walk away.
What?
Just walk into the ocean.
Yeah, just walk into the fucking ocean.
I was like, dude, man, I haven't had an existential crisis since like junior year in my SART class. Like, fuck, I don't need this.
Wait, you don't have those regularly?
Yeah.
I have those like
every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was something I was gonna get into later, but since you mentioned SART, it's like, whatever. It's like, so how often do you utilize, if often at all, like any sort of like philosophical teaching or thought processes in like your day-to-day or like your managing of this company?
I would say every day, right? Because the big thing that I learned from my philosophy classes were critical thinking, how to think about things differently when I was like in class, because that was kind of an issue. Is like I love my teachers and like the professors, and it's one of those deals, one of those classes that I would say, or degrees that you never consciously are saying, oh, I'm using this skill. but it's built that lattice work on how your mind thinks, like how you think, to where you could never really separate out. If you're working on quantum mechanics or you're some hard ass math problem, then you can easily say, oh yeah, I remember this from this class. But like whenever I'm doing a day-to-day activity, I can't think back to a specific class that I can point to and say, oh yeah, I'm doing this because of this. But I know that it's there, and I know that the way that I think of things and try to think through things is very like philosophical, the way I handle it, especially the way I like deal with employees and partners and that type of stuff.
Who's your favorite philosopher?
Oh man, I gotta pull it up.
Let's go. Just rap. We'll do a rap list. Top five.
I can't think of one.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with so I like the classics mainly because there's when you read them, they're such trolls. So like they're trying to. I feel like the classic Diogenes, right? I feel like the classic philosophers were writing satire in a way to where they could get complex points across without their skulls caved in. Like that's kind of how I view the classic philosophers.
I love it.
They're really smart guys, but they didn't want to. They had to make everything sarcastic and kind of a joke because otherwise they'd get stoned. But that's kind of why I like them. Like then once you get past, you get into Sartre and Kant, you get all like the 19th century French guys. They're all super drab. Like it's like, is the chair here? Is it not here? Am I here? I don't know.
I don't know. I guess I'm gonna go drink.
Like, does it? But like, yeah, I'm just gonna go drink, and then it's like, well, then it comes down to like, does it really fucking matter if the chair is here or not? If you can feel it, like it's like, what difference does it make?
Yeah. But then you have Diogenes who's like, I'm gonna go live in a barrel and jerk off all day. What are you gonna do?
Exactly. Like freaking hilarious.
I mentioned earlier that you're a LocSec. We'll get into what that means because most people are going to have no idea what that means. But when and why did you join Mensa?
I joined Mensa when I was in high school. I think junior year or senior year. I was struggling with, I think it was some type of math class or chemistry. And so they were getting me tested for ADHD. And so I went in and did the whole, like, whatever the Wexler test or whatever it was. And they're like, oh, yeah, so your vocab and reading and stuff is, like, really high, but you are mentally disabled when it comes to anything, including numbers. So I think there's probably something off here. And, like, the short-term memory thing. And so, like, oh, yeah, so that's how they determine whether you have ADHD is if everything else is good but your short-term memory is super dog shit, then, all right, well, we'll give you Adderall. So that's kind of how that worked out. And then my mom saw it, and she's like, oh, you qualify for Mensa. So then she made me apply, and I've been in it since then.
That's what happened to me when I was a kid, except they never made me take a test. They're just like, no, you're going to take Ritalin because you're annoying. That was pretty much it.
I just went to an art school.
Yeah, and they're like, what? Then
I just put all my energy.
Here's your Adderall or what?
No, I never got put on medication. They just gave me something to focus my energy on.
Yeah, like I didn't take it that often. I mean, mainly for studying. I took some like bad stuff initially, like Concerta, I think it was. Like that stuff messes you up. Yeah, but then I went to my first like meeting when I was like 17, I think. 16, 17. And it was at the library, the Arlington Library. And it was a bunch of like old people, and there was a guy meditating. And so I was like, I don't know about this.
I don't know about this.
So I think since he mentioned the age of the general demographic of Mensa, I think we should point out to our listeners/viewers that are not in Mensa or haven't been to any Mensa events. Most of the people that are active in Mensa are usually retired because they have a lot of free time to like go to things. And then a lot of the younger people don't have the money or the time to participate. So usually when you go to a random Mensa event, the average age is probably like 60.
Yeah. I mean, we're trying to bring that down, and that was really one of the goals with this podcast here, was to showcase that we aren't all 70 years old, and we are somewhat cool, I think.
Yeah. Well, when I joined, there weren't that many people, younger people in it. Even the national events, there was maybe 25, 30 people that were under the age of 30. But what I've learned, and if you're interested in joining Mensa and you might be discouraged that there aren't a lot of young people in your local area, is what happens is most people join and then they get discouraged there's no young people and then they quit. But if you stick around for the other people to show up, then eventually you can have a cool group.
And at like the national events, like that's where I met you. It's where I met Tyler. You know, there's a ton of us there, but it's like once a year. So it's the issue.
And if I could like add something to that, it's a volunteer based group, right? So you get out of it what you put in. So if you join something that's completely volunteer based and you're expecting that your dues like include somebody coming and like showing up your house and like giving you a hand job, like it's just not like
that's not what I get with my $79.
Yeah, it's like you gotta put some effort into it, and if you specifically feel like you're looking for a demographic of people that Mensa would fill, then you need to like not only join but put a little bit of effort into like connecting with those people. Don't expect them that you're gonna magically put in $50 and you're going to get a bunch of friends, right? The world doesn't work that way.
I really hope that one day I can put in $50 and get a bunch of friends, though. That'd be super great.
Yeah.
That'd be a way easier way to do it.
You got to put in at least $250.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then you got a friend for about 5 minutes.
Yeah, and then you got a friend until the drinks run out. So, you're the LocSec of your local group, Tyler. What is that? What do you do? How many minions do you have under your control? And do you fight the other local groups? Is it like a sports team? How does that work?
One, I don't know. Two, I definitely don't know. I've got about 5 or 6 other board minions, and then our local group has about 30 people that regularly attend meetings. And I think Arlington is like the largest, technically. The North Texas is like the largest national Mensa group, but I think that is also due to the fact that the national office has their address in our area. So if you sign up and just have, we're just going to use Mensa headquarters as my address, then it like automatically falls under our purview. So it's kind of like it's fluff numbers, I guess.
And is the demographic there basically the same as it is everywhere else? Like there's tons of, baby boomers and very few of the Gen Y, Gen Z?
Yeah, I would say, and I was thinking about this the other day. So I think the big disconnect is that you got people who are a lot younger, who have the time, I guess, and then they have the time, they show up, and then everybody's old, and they're like, fuck this. And then you've got, the baby boomers. Like, so people in between, if they're busy with work, like for me, like it's really hard being LocSec, and trying to run a company at the same time, because when there's any type of drama, I'm like, dude, I don't give a shit about any of this. So you guys need to figure it out.
This is like being an adult. What the hell?
Yeah, and I've said that multiple times. Like, we had a big, like, blow up, a week or so ago. And I was just like, look, guys, everybody here is volunteering, and nobody's job is that fucking important. So just get it done. Let's all help each other out and, make the world a better place. But you've just got people who are retired, and if they've got something to do, then they really latch onto it and take a lot of pride in that, which is good. Yeah. I mean, that's a good thing. But at the same time, relax.
What are the good things that you've gotten out of Mensa?
I probably should ask that.
I mean, like, so good. Honestly, like meeting you guys, going to the AGs. A big deal would be, I'm president of the local group. I mean, for a reason, not because I wanted to necessarily, but I really do. Even though everybody is significantly older. They are a bunch of cool people, and they've got a lot of experience, and they're all really smart, and some of them are weird as shit, but like they're super entertaining to be around. So I enjoyed a lot. I've had quite a few people ask me, when they find out I'm in Mensa or something, they're like, well, so why are you in it? Like, what do you get out of it? And my response to that is, I just enjoy hanging out and taking a couple hours and bullshitting with people, and not necessarily needing to have a goal to come out of it. Because whenever you go to like startup networking events or any type of networking event, like you're trying to find your next investor or your next customer, or there's always some type of goal you're trying to do. Like with the Mensa group, you're just showing up. You don't have to have an ulterior motive, unless you're some of the people who show up to the AGs. We should really talk to. But other than that, everybody's cool.
That was one of the things Jason talked about on the last episode, is that he was talking about, it's like, yeah, like when you go to these networking events, you go to these meetings, it's always like somebody's trying to pitch you their idea, or you're trying to get money for something, or you're trying to do this or that, and it's like there's no real human connection beyond that. And then that's what he also got out of Mensa, is that it's like you can just talk to people and have a good time and relax, and it's just cool.
Yeah, it's emotionally exhausting. Like to do like I'm busy, I'm fairly outgoing, right? So I enjoy going to those networking events, but at the same time, they are very draining, and so and to kind of always be on is rough. So to be able to go, and I mean, there's a couple of Vietnam vets that I talked to, like most recently. So our scribe Donald Jones, he passed away, and he was a flight instructor during Vietnam. So he was like a badass guy, and like you never know it. He's just kind of big, goofy dude. But like being able to talk to those people is pretty cool. And like where else would you go? Like I wasn't in the military. I can't go to the VA. So I mean, I probably could, but I'd get my ass kicked by a bunch of
by a bunch of 70-year-old men.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there any future ventures, future plans, any other projects that you're working on the side that you can talk about?
Not specifically that I can say right now. I mean, I'm trying to like focus on this for a bit, make sure everything's up and running. Like my goal right now is like make sure my company can run without me. Like that's my number one priority right now, is figuring out a way for my company to start working when I'm not there.
Why is that funny, Joel?
I think that's funny because he's just got the funding, and he's like, all right, I gotta get out.
Well, that's what you gotta do, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, like honestly, you just gotta keep going. Like so we just got that grant, and then also wait, this isn't coming out. Oh, so we also got in a mass challenge in Austin, Texas. So that's a big accelerator nonprofit that we had the chance to win. I think they give away like $500,000 or so. So we're going to be in that program at the same time. So kind of what I learned was that last year I made the mistake of I had some good things happen, and then I got content, and then I had that competitor pop up, and I was just like, oh shit, if I was doing everything that I was like, or took the wrong advice, if I was doing everything that I would have done beforehand, I would have been a few steps ahead right now, but now I feel like I'm kind of behind. So I've just got to have that mentality again, is just keep going. Like, even though I won X amount of dollars, I got to go look for the next dollar. I've got to not just this company. I've got to be three more steps down the line, because I mean, no matter how good your tech is, no matter how much support you have, there's always a chance that somebody else comes by, like that Dow or BASF or like Scott's comes out with like something 10 times better and 10 times cheaper, than just like bends me over, like, and there's not shit I can do about it. So you've always got to have that kind of thing in the back of your head going, okay, well, this is gonna work, but I'm also planning on not being fucked if it doesn't either.
No, do you have any advice for other entrepreneurs or general advice about pursuing a project?
For pursuing a project, I would say, just do it. Like, you got to do a little bit, like, try to do some research first, figure out if there is a market for it, and if there's not a market for it, like, see if you can figure out a way to make a market for it. Do don't tell very many people. There's two trains of thought, right? There's you don't tell anybody, or you tell everybody. I've usually done the latter, and I don't execute fast enough, and somebody else kind of pops up. So I think that's probably per the person as to like whether you want to like share your idea with everybody. Let me rephrase it. If you share your idea with everybody, and then like be willing to, if you get 2 or 3 people to say yeah, it's a good idea, then you need to fucking do it and do it immediately. And you've got to have your like how you're gonna do that lined out. And then on top of that, just don't quit and find some people who are willing to be on the same page as you. Like you know, build a team, or if it's something that you can do by yourself, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. I would try to find a team that you can help with, and then find some mentors, some people who won't ask for equity, or they just want to help you. They've been there and they've done it before. So find mentors, have a plan to execute, and then just like don't stop, because like stuff's gonna get real shitty. You're gonna get depressed, or like something bad's gonna happen, and then you're gonna like kind of you can't ever think that you're gonna quit. You just gotta keep going.
So step 1, don't be a fuck up. Step 2, keep trying even though you fuck up. The end. That about cover it?
Yeah, I mean, like, no, you can be yeah, exactly. You could be a fuck up. Just know, like, for me personally, like, I know that I fuck a lot of shit up, but I also know that I'm like too stubborn to like let that get in between what's going on. And I've got, I mean, I'm like, I can go 100 miles an hour, but there's gonna be a lot of things that like fall to be cracked. So one of my weaknesses was, you know, getting a team around me that can make sure that all those things are being done. You know, like finding a really good operations type person to make sure everything's done the correct way. You know, all the nitty gritty taxes and all the business stuff. It's like very important. But if you're focused on the big picture, you don't think about that little stuff. And if you don't do those right, then they'll come back and like fuck you pretty hard.
That's good. So you got to have the self-awareness of knowing what you're good at, and then surround yourself with people who can complement you and improve upon that.
How do you go about finding a team? What was your approach to assembling your company?
Figure out what you need first, like what you need immediately. So let's say you're doing, all right, we'll use me as an example, right? So I started the company with the IP from the university. And then I knew that we had X amount of skills in the lab, and I needed a professional, basically chemical engineer, to figure out a way to like get stuff scale. So what I did was I went to the National Institute of Chemical Engineers, which is a club. It's, you know, like Mensa, but for chemical engineers, to, you know, get their professional hours, to keep their little name tag or whatever it is. But I tracked down the president of the organization in North Texas. I said, hey, look, I'm a startup. I sent him an email. Hey, I'm a startup. I'm looking for X, Y, and Z skill set. Do you have anybody in mind who would fit the bill? And then I interviewed 3 or 4 people. One guy I brought on for a little bit, and he was a fuck up. And then I got Mike James, who is now one of my partners. So it's kind of one of those deals is you don't know what you don't know. So you don't know necessarily what puzzle pieces you're needing to fit all at once, right? You don't know from day one what. Actually, I kind of did, to be honest. I knew exactly who I needed, and I got those people in place, and I got them in too early, and that ended up blowing up on me because they didn't have anything to do. So like I brought in a logistics person for manufacturing. I brought in like all these skills, like all these people. I had like a 12-person team like when I first started out. Because I knew like, okay, I'm gonna need this guy, I'm gonna need this guy, I'm gonna need this guy, but we weren't there yet. So I kind of did it in the back-assward order, right? I built a multi-million-dollar company with $2. So then I had to, you know, it was just a bunch of friction. Had to get rid of a lot of people, or they left, or what have you. But it's just filling in those pieces like as they come along. You know, like, okay, we've got manufacturing done, and now we've got to get stuff shipped in from overseas. Well, we need somebody who specializes in that. Like, okay, now we have somebody specialized. How do we find that person? Oh, there's a club that specializes in people who do that type of thing. But there's just ways you can figure it out. And the biggest thing, if you're going, if you're starting like an app, or you're starting like some type of tech group, is to go to all the networking events. Even though I said I hated them, if you go to those networking events, you can find people who are like-minded who are looking for projects. Or Startup Weekend is a really good example. Startup Weekend is a competition to where you can it takes 48 hours. I think it starts on a Friday and ends on a Sunday. You pitch an idea, or you pick an idea, you build a team of like 3 to 6 people, and then you spend all weekend building a prototype. And then at the end, you do a pitch competition and see who wins, yada yada. But the biggest thing for that is you get to meet 50 or 60 other people who are looking for something to do, and that's a really good way to meet like co-founders.
That's good advice. I guess, let's see, this one random stupid question just popped in my head when you were talking about that. Have you ever thought about going on, like, Shark Tank or anything with this?
No, because, like, not yet. So Shark Tank's, like, a very business-to-consumer based products. So if I had something that I could sell to like somebody's mom, like a backyard grower, then yeah, I would. But I don't see very many business to business type companies going on.
Yeah, I was just thinking, because I've known a couple of people that have been on that show, and like a lot of the times they've said that like they didn't even do it to actually get the deal. They did it for the publicity of being on the show, and that was like entirely it. Like they weren't going to accept any deal whatsoever.
Yeah, which is crazy. But I mean, because it's like, I mean, you've got to give up a percentage of your company to go on there now, I think, regardless. I think it's like 1% or something.
What?
But,
That's stupid.
What kind
dumb.
of scam is that shit?
Yeah, it's like you get nothing for this. You just give up 1% no matter what. That's fun. Oh, I mean, whatever.
yeah, but I mean, you get the publicity, right? So it may be worth it for some people. I know a couple people who have taken deals from the Sharks, from Cuban and A-Rod, and then another guy who did Cuban, and they're pretty harsh term sheets. Like they pretty much had the final say on everything.
Yeah, that's called leverage.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think that will be it for the second episode of Table in Latin, right, Joel? That'll be
Yeah.
it. Fantastic. Thank you, Tyler, for being with us today. Much luck and much success to Sol Gro, and I will talk to you again on Facebook in probably like 5 minutes.
All right. Well, Ben, Joel, I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on. This was fun.